Daisies blooming, sundress swaying in the breeze. I can't stop staring. You've put a spell on me, and I hope that you never decide to set me free.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Combi Dog channel as we get going on the installation of our French drain in parallel with our floor joist and subfloor. Here in the corner, we're going to have a couple of vertical access points for a clean out for the French drain. They'll go down, connect to the 4-inch French drain pipes that travel in opposite directions around the structure and join back up in the opposing diagonal. Now we just sort of at this point just dry fit the pipe together, get it all cut to the appropriate length and make sure that it fits correctly. In the opposing diagonal, we still will need to dig a trench going out to daylight where ultimately the French drain will drain. Here you can see the perforations in the pipe, but that begs the question, perforations up or perforations down? Most of the research I did seemed to indicate that the perforation should go down, which aligned with my own thinking, but I did see some professional installers putting the perforations up, which had me second guessing myself. In the end, I went perforations down. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Up or down? Drop that in the comments below if you would. But here you can see me making a bit of a mistake. I'm so used to putting together a PVC pipe that I use PVC glue on HDPE pipe, high density polyethylene, and spoiler alert, it doesn't work. Well, this creates a new question. Do you even need to glue the joints together? I mean, you're not looking for a watertight seal since, after all, this is perforated pipe. But what we did need was a way for the pipe to hold together while we put a filter fabric sock on it. As you see what a disaster my PVC glue was. What we ended up doing was using a made for cold water situations, a wide water resistant tape to tape the joints together, and this would hold it securely while we put a filter fabric sock over the pipe. Then we could feel safe that it's going to stay securely together while we backfill the trench with drain rock, put more filter fabric over the top of that before backfilling with soil. So here you can see us putting on the filter fabric sock, which was a bit harder than the instructions indicated, but with our joints securely held together, we managed to get it on just fine. Moving on to the floor joist, we started by putting 3 pieces of blocking material on what would be an end joist. That would allow it to balance on the sill plate while we put 2 perpendicular rim boards on either end of that, followed by another spanning joist making a square that would again balance on the rim board, and now we could actually square it up and toenail it into the sill plate. After making a mirrored assembly on the other end of this structure, squaring it with the first assembly as well as both of them squared with the stem walls, we could start working on our beam. Our beam going down the middle is made out of a pair of 2x6s sandwiching a piece of plywood. Here the beam is just being supported by a handful of clamps as well as 2x2s supporting it from the piers that will ultimately support it using 4x4 pressure treated timbers. Here you can see a tab of the plywood sandwiched in the beam, waiting to be inserted into the next section of beam. With the end joist framework done, squared into place and secured, the beam finished and held in place, and the 16-inch on center layout done on the remaining rim boards, things started to move along at a bit faster a pace. Down inside the very tall crawl space, you can see that we have the 4x4 supporting post put up underneath the beam. There are 6 of them on the piers that we poured with the footer, and then 1 on each end sitting on the footer. The big question now is what to do with the floor. This was originally supposed to be a 3-foot crawl space, and I was just going to put down a vapor barrier and call it good. But it's 6 foot 2. This is good usable space, and I would like to use it. But what to do on the ground? Just putting down a vapor barrier would be torn up if you're walking around on it. There's not enough depth to put in concrete without digging it down further. I'm thinking maybe pavers. What do you think? Would you dig it down and pour concrete, or put a vapor barrier down with pavers over it? Not sure what to do. Of course, eventually I'm going to need to cover the styrofoam walls with something too, but that's a task and thought for another day. With the joists finished and providing support to the walls, we could finally begin backfilling over the French drain. So I brought in 36 yards of drain rock. Here you can see the 2 clean out pipes, as well as the wider lengths of filter fabric. Once this rock is smoothed out over the top, we'll just taco that over the top and backfill it. Now here is the daylight drain that we still need to finish. And that will just dig out over the cliff and we'll have solid pipe in it. And this will slope down. This actually slopes down about 6 inches over 10 feet, where most of the pipe going in the French drain, the perforated pipe, had very little slope to it. Here's some of that green tape holding the joints together. I don't think I showed that very well before. I've had very little experience with excavators myself, so I thought it was pretty cool to see my neighbor Don drive his excavator over the open trench. With the daylight drain finished, we could go ahead and lay the pipe in it and put in the filter fabric, go ahead and put in the drain rock, and then we're done. We're ready to start backfilling all of the trench with soil. What was a giant mound of dirt from the excavation is quickly being eaten up by the backfill. It was about at this point that I had to come to terms with a very unfortunate realization. I would first like to apologize for the lack of detail during the build thus far, and for providing no detail whatsoever for the installation of the subfloor, which you can now see is finished. Unexpected circumstances made it evident that while winter is still several weeks out, there is simply not enough time to get the cabin dried in before inclement weather is here. The situation being as it is, there is no option but to pack it up and wrap it up and hope the work we have done so far can survive the winter. I've heard that after staying in one place for 30 days, that place becomes like home. And I've been here on our property in Kuski working on building our future cabin for over 50 days now. And so it really has become home. And today I'm going back to my actual residence back in Boise today. And I gotta say that I'm a little melancholy, maybe, or a little sad about it, because as I stated, this has become home, and I'm leaving it not in the way that I had intended. As you can see, the foundation is done and the subfloor is on, and instead of being dried in like I had anticipated, it is now just covered with plastic, hoping that that will keep it from any sort of damage, water damage over winter, because it's probably going to be next spring before we're back and able to continue this project. The only thing that makes it not worse, actually makes it good, I guess, about leaving is I do miss Marissa and our dogs and our cat a lot. So it'll be good to be home and be with them again. And hopefully all of us, except for maybe the cat, will be back next spring to finish this project, or at least getting dried in. It's been a lot of fun. It's been very educational. I had so hoped to document every little detail about the build, but as I think I mentioned before, I was relying a lot on the help of a lot of neighbors, and it just didn't feel right about saying, hey, I appreciate you working on my project while I video you. It made it very difficult to video the step-by-step. Hopefully when we get back to doing this ourselves next spring, I'll have more of the luxury of doing a more detailed videoing of the build. Here it is. The RV is all winterized and wrapped up. Hopefully it will do well over the winter up here, and the truck is loaded up with tools and other supplies that I didn't want to leave here that I need to take home. And that's it. I'm gonna miss this place. Like I said, it's kind of my home, and it is, again, we're building a home here, so I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss working on it. It's been a lot of fun. So now what? Does this mean that the Combi Dog Off-Grid channel is over until spring? No. There are lots of projects related to the off-grid cabin build and off-grid living in general that I can and will be working on throughout the winter. So if you haven't already, please subscribe and hit that like button, and I will see you soon for my next off-grid project.